there for each of you. Of course, Mike, this is like the opposite way round. You're being interviewed this morning rather than doing the interviewing. You're a BBC journalist.
That's right.
Katie, you're a civil servant.
Yep, that's right too.
How does it feel to be interviewed rather than to do the interviewing?
It's a bit different. It's a bit different. I have to think of what I'm saying rather than just follow a script. So that's out of my comfort zone today.
So good. And, well, thank you for being with us. Many of people here will know your story. We'll get into all that. Take us right back. How did you both meet? Tell us the story of how you got together.
Online, through the wonderful Christian Connection website. What year was this? 2018?
2018.
Great. For those who don't know, Christian Connections is like a sort of Christian sort of Tinder, is it? Or like, how does
You
it
don't
work?
swipe.
You don't swipe, no. Okay. And so you met, where was the first date?
So it was Winchester, because at that time, Katie was living in London, and I was in Bournemouth. We were both from Bournemouth originally. So found each other online, met at Winchester railway station.
Oh.
Very quickly realised we had different understandings of the term average height.
Yeah, I thought this is a no-go.
But your sparkling personality, GSOH won the day.
Absolutely, that came through.
I don't struggle to believe it. And you went for a little drinky winky or something nearby, and one thing led to another.
Yeah, we had some. I had Marmite crumpets, which Mike wasn't a fan of.
Right.
No. And she was appalled that I ate a toasted sandwich with knife and fork, which I thought was very good manners, but that's been a bone of contention ever since.
Okay. And so, despite the Marmite crumpets and knife and fork gaff, why do you do that? Eat it with a knife and fork? That's crazy.
It's just,
Courtesy.
Keep the fingers clean.
Is this something you always do, or something you were doing to try and impress Katie on that occasion?
No, that is me.
That is you.
That is me.
There's been a McDonald's incident as well.
With cutlery.
Yeah.
Wow. There is revelation upon revelation this morning for us. It's amazing. So, from there, you began to... We've got one or two... So I'm not sure if there's one of you guys in the spot... Yeah, what was happening here? Is this when you were dating?
Yeah, yes, are we married then? I think we are.
Yeah, lockdown haircuts.
That's the haircut.
Lockdown haircuts, yeah. The Spider-Man party, what was going on there?
This is with our Connect group, and we had a quiz. I think there was a red theme, but it was summer, so we were both boiling in this picture.
Yeah. So you got married. We've got eventually you got married. We've got a photo of your lovely wedding.
Yeah.
You're doing your speech there.
Yeah.
Unaccustomed as I am to public speaking. But no, just tell us. You've been just give us the background on your careers. You're both sort of high achievers, I think is the term, isn't it? Mike, you're a BBC journalist. You've done radio. You've done TV. You're on BBC South Today. Just for anyone here who hasn't seen you on the box, what do you do?
Yeah, so as you say, I did radio for years, and I've been with TV for about 8 years, I think. So BBC South Today, sort of a mixture of presenting, reporting, producing, that kind of thing. And obviously, Katie is working for the Department of Health.
Yeah, I've always worked in the kind of health system, in and out, kind of in the NHS, in the government, on the ground, always on the mission to help people live healthier lives for longer.
And so, let's fast forward to your wonderful wedding. And when did you get married? That's 2019?
2019, yeah.
September 2019? Was it? No.
It was, yeah.
September 2019.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And then, I remember more than you did. Just take up the story from there, because you wanted to have children, and just pick up the story for us from there as your marriage got underway.
Well, that's right. I mean, I think we were feeling incredibly blessed to have met each other, and fair to say, I certainly had a very checkered relationship history. So it just felt like this was absolutely right, and God had intervened to bring us together. Wonderful wedding. My parents are here today. My dad's a retired vicar, and he took the service at St. Peter's Church just down the road, which was fantastic. And so the natural thing for us was we wanted to have a family. But unfortunately, as is the case for a lot of people, it was a difficult journey in front of us. And, sadly, we had sort of 2 years where we had, in that time, 3 miscarriages. Wow. And very challenging at any stage, but going through a COVID lockdown, that was particularly difficult, where your sort of restrictions on being able to go into a hospital. So Katie had to sort of, on one occasion, get this news of a scan that sadly had sad news while I was waiting in the car outside. So, it was a really challenging time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was tough, really tough. And I think then, probably when it got to the second or third one, I think probably you in particular, and then both of us were kind of like, what is this about? Where's God, and what is happening? Is this meant to be? And what do we do? How do we get through this? What's next?
And how was your faith? Because you both had a deep faith. You wanted to meet another Christian and marry another Christian, which wonderfully happened, and all the joy of the wedding and so on. It's amazing that you both met one another, and then some of these sort of crushing kind of experiences early on in your relationship. How was that from a faith point of view?
I think challenging. I guess probably not surprising, because we're not promised an easy life, but we had each other, and I think we have our faith and an amazing community around us, great families, and just the hope in the future, and God's promises are real. So then we push forward and we trust in those.
And for anyone here who's not gone through, there are many who have gone through experience of miscarriage, but Katie, particularly, you're so eloquent on sort of describing. How does that feel from your perspective? How did that affect you emotionally?
Oh, I think it's just the loss of your kind of, because, you're kind of on a journey, aren't you? You're thinking of ahead. You have the pregnancy, and you just then assume that you're going to continue on. And when that happens, you lose your future hopes and dreams, your current ones. It's just unimaginable, really, isn't it? I don't know how you found it.
Well, it was very tough. I think there was one particular occasion, funnily enough, where we'd had the miscarriage, and I went to work the next day. I was doing a live report on TV, and I just found my hand shaking as I was doing it, and I couldn't understand why. I thought it was not particularly cold, and I think it was just kind of the trauma of it coming out, and it took me by surprise. But I think with all these things, until you've been through it, you don't really know what it's like. But yeah, we prayed about it a lot, and we sort of moved forward with renewed hope, I think.
And I think there's also, I think this is quite a common thing for 1 in 4 women. So my heart was really with other people that had been through this, and then I was being quite open about it, and then discovering that lots of other people had also been through this. And, I think it's just really hard if you're trying to deal with it on your own.
Mm. And then eventually you fell pregnant for a 4th time with Olivia. How did that feel going through that pregnancy, being, nervous, I'm sure, of, is this going to happen again?
Yeah, definitely those thoughts. Although trying to disconnect my human brain from my faith brain, and not trying to have those doubts. But I think it was difficult because it was also still COVID-y slightly, and we were always the ones still in masks in church when no one else was, trying to keep a wide distance and being really cautious of kind of social things and where we were going. And then I got COVID, didn't I?
From me?
Yeah, from work. So that was quite a worry, feeling really unwell and quite far on into the pregnancy. So
there was a lot of sort of anxiety around at that time. If we all think back to those times, so much anxiety around, but you had that going on. And then during the pregnancy as well, Mike, you realised that you weren't well in a deeper way.
Well, yeah, that was the extraordinary thing. So we'd got to sort of 5 weeks before the due date, I think. So this is December 2022. We just moved house, so a frantic period of decorating, getting a house ready for a baby to come. And then I was at work, I was meant to be reading the evening news on TV, and I'd had absolutely no indication there was anything wrong. I probably felt a little bit tired for a couple of days, but I was at my desk preparing the evening news bulletin for 10:30, and I just suddenly felt like I needed to go to the toilet. So I kind of leapt to my feet, and as soon as I did, my legs gave way, and I think I knocked myself out. I think I hit my head on the edge of a filing cabinet as I went down, but I was out cold, basically. Very fortunate the producer of the evening programme was still in the office, which was otherwise deserted, who sort of found me unconscious on the floor. I got taken to hospital, spent a night in A&E, and to cut a long story short, and it was a long story of different tests and a stay in hospital the next week, it turned out that basically I passed out because I'd had a low blood oxygen level, and the reason for that was that, sort of completely unbeknownst to me, I had a 5-centimetre tumour in my small bowel, which clearly came as a massive shock, and is a shock at any time. But to be told, we think you've got cancer, we're going to have surgery on this now, when you've got a baby on the way in a month, it just felt, why on earth is this happening now?
Yeah, and so the pregnancy went ahead. Olivia was born. There's a lovely, beautiful picture of the newborn Olivia was born. Just tell us, where was she born? Where and when was?
She was born in Poole Hospital, 20th of January, 2022, 23.
And
time's going.
And you, Mike, had delayed your operation so that it would fall just after the birth. And I mean, how was that with it? Because you were very open with the medical staff, both of you.
Well, I mean, I think it was a stress, to be honest, because we had a date there, and of course, inevitably, first baby, she came late, so it was just creeping ever nearer. And it was like, is this going to happen? And the truth is that I wasn't very well when Olivia came, but we prayed about it and absolutely feel that I had the strength to be there and support Katie through the night, through the birth, and just incredible joy when she arrived safely.
Yeah, there's a beautiful picture of both of you with Olivia. Just tell us how that felt for both of you when she was born.
Just amazing, I think, and just the kind of, wow, I actually got through this. I mean, big old labour. That was fun. Yeah, I think just the amazement, but also, obviously, in the back of my mind, I am worried about Mike.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to have this amazing joy, and also the kind of, what do I do as a new mum? I don't know what to do. I've not really had baby experience. And then my husband is really, really unwell, potentially. So it was kind of a bit diluted, the joy.
Yeah, and just walk us through the sort of months that followed from that point. What happened then after the birth? You went off and had your operation. You were recuperating at home.
So yeah, it was a week after Olivia was born. We had a couple of nights in hospital as the three of us. Poole Hospital were very kind and let us stay together. Then we sort of brought her home on the Sunday. We had, I think, 3 days and nights at home as a family.
I'll just intervene at this point, because I think those pictures you just saw of the, those beautiful pictures of us with Olivia, they were kind of, I think that's God intervening, because I met this kind of early baby photographer lady, and I said, we've got a baby on the way, we'd love to have a kind of shoot, but my husband's really unwell and we really want to capture this. So she was saying, I wouldn't normally do this till the baby's about 3 weeks old. And I was kind of saying, well, Olivia's 6 days, but Mike's going to hospital. So she said, I never normally would photograph a baby this young. And we got those amazing pictures. We've got quite a few, like 80 pictures, which we probably wouldn't have had. So that is just a massive blessing, really is, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic, and we're so grateful to have them. And so I had my surgery. On the face of it, that all went well. I came home from hospital. We had the health visitor coming to see Olivia, I think, on the Tuesday morning. So it was great to have that be there for that. And then, yeah, as you say, Sarah, who was one of our midwives, and Anna, another midwife who became great friends, and Sarah's here today. They came to visit in the afternoon, and just as a social visit, really, I think. And it was great. It felt like, right, we're coming through this. But then, very sadly, it was that evening that I said to you, you know, is it me, or is Olivia breathing a bit fast? You know, it seemed unusual to me, but then I was not convinced this was the case, because I thought, I've not been with her for a number of days. Perhaps I've forgotten what baby's breathing is like. And really, over the course of that evening, she just deteriorated, and it was very clear she was unwell. So, you know, we called an ambulance. Didn't really think, I thought it was just going to be a reassurance. I was almost surprised when the ambulance turned up, but they did, and the verdict was she had to go to hospital. And of course, with COVID restrictions, I couldn't go in the ambulance with you. The fact that I was recuperating from surgery, I wasn't allowed to drive. So, you know, I was at home waiting in the dark with your mum, who was staying with us, for any news. Literally sort of 3 a.m, sat in the bedroom in darkness, just thinking, what is going on? And of course, she sent me a message and said, Olivia's really seriously ill. You need to come in. So I got a taxi to Poole Hospital, and, you know, basically we nearly lost her that night. You know, they said that they had to resuscitate her, and they contacted paediatric intensive care at Southampton to have her transferred there. And they said to us, look, we need to get her there, but the truth is she may not survive the journey. So we had, the following morning, you know, a very stressful drive by ambulance from Poole to Southampton. And yes, we got to Southampton, and then very quickly, you know, we were told, well, the situation is that the left side of Olivia's heart just doesn't function, barely functions at all, but we have no idea why. You know, you hear something as dramatic as that, and you think, okay, this is the problem, but this is going to be the solution. But they said, we just don't know why. The obvious explanation would be an infection, so we're going to do tests if there's an infection, and within a day that was ruled out. So we were in a situation where we had our 2-week-old daughter in intensive care being treated for something where it was just a complete mystery as to why she was ill, what the treatment could be, and whether she'd ever get better.
And you both must have been, well, I remember it, you were just in a blur. I mean, what followed there was a roller coaster through, I mean, as good as they were in paediatric intensive care unit in Southampton, it was a blur for you, wasn't it? You were recovering from this cancer op. I mean, when I remember going there, I think it was the next day or the day after, and I just thought, goodness me, both of you were just, it was a roller coaster, wasn't it? How did that, when you look back and sort of think, what was that like for us on an emotional level? How could you possibly process what was going on? What were you thinking, Katie? I mean, your daughter, your husband, everything.
I don't know. I mean, I think I was just trying to deal with the here and now, and I couldn't. It was just too vast. There were too many different parts to play, and I think, weirdly, I mean, probably this is just kind of instinct, but I thought, well, I probably just need to stay calm, be positive, because I've got to keep producing milk, I've got to look after the baby. I'll just have to think that things will be fine, trust in God, and we will get through this. But I mean, it was exhausting. I hadn't slept in days, just given birth, hadn't really recovered from that. Worried about you, complete unknown, like war zone situation, like high alert constantly, not knowing. So it was, yeah, really hard.
And over the weeks that followed, how long was Olivia in intensive care in Southampton Hospital for? So,
I mean, we were in hospital with her for 2 months, and of that, probably almost half the time intensive care, I think.
I mean, it was a roller coaster, wasn't it? What helped you get through that time together? Just the unimaginable sort of scenarios to put yourselves through. What helped you get through that?
Well, I mean, there's lots of things really. Obviously, our faith was massive. You know, we were very fortunate. I think we sort of shared with our Connect group the fact that what was going on, literally from the ambulance, I think. And by the time we got to hospital, Chris had been in touch with Kay, one of the chaplains there, you know very well, and she and Sue were an amazing support with daily visits. Obviously, our family, our parents came to visit us, and our Connect group, many of whom are here today, were exceptional, bringing meals and visits and daily prayer. I mean, it became a thing of lighting a candle, didn't it? Every day at 7:00, where it just grew and grew, and by the end we had people in Brazil, in Washington D.C., lighting candles every day. It was just a source of strength for us, and yeah, we really felt God's presence throughout, and I have to say, we were indebted to you, Tim, for visiting. I mean, you came on the very first day. Within hours of being there, you came to visit us, and you were with us right the way through the journey, and that was a huge help.
It was quite a thing, wasn't it? It would be lovely to sit here this morning saying those prayers were answered in the way that we all wanted them to be answered. That's not what happened. Just tell us what happened.
In terms of Olivia's journey, so I mean, a lot happened in 2 months, but it was a roller coaster. I mean, it was the fact when we say it was spells in intensive care and out. The truth is that she would get to a point of being well enough to go to a ward, to the cardiac ward, and then she had sort of several crises, which meant that she deteriorated and had to be rushed back on a ventilator. There was 2 occasions in hospital where I found myself in the position of sort of holding her hand while they worked on her, and we really thought we were saying goodbye to her. But she did sort of come through those, which was amazing. And I have to say, we'll speak about her character, but she was a very tough little girl, there's no question. But yeah, there was that roller coaster, and I think
Mike, why don't we talk about her character? Because what was remarkable to me, whenever I would go in and speak to them, there was actually such a sense of the joy that she was bringing to people. It was remarkable. There's 1 or 2 photos of her in intensive care, and the way she would smile, and it was for a tiny baby, a huge sense of personality and presence. Quite a gift.
I mean, that picture that was just there a second ago of me reading a book to her, I mean, every parent thinks their child is incredibly intelligent. But
oh no, she was A grade, Mike. Come on.
But that picture was quite an exceptional thing, really, where it was a very good friend of mine who sadly lost her baby at a young age, said to me, and had been through the experience of intensive care, said, you should read, you should get books and read to her, because maybe you might think that it's almost they're too young, but you're in this sort of helplessness of you can't really, because of all the wires, you can't get out of the ward, you're limited in what you can do as a parent. So read, and that was a massive connection that I had with her. And it was just that particular day with that picture where we had staff sort of gathered around the bed, open-mouthed, saying they couldn't get their head round a baby that young, apparently sort of following the words and following the pictures on the paper. So, that was moments like that just helped enormously, I think.
Yeah. The medical staff, the senior medical staff, were increasingly concerned, though, that you both got the message that Olivia's life was in danger, increasingly, as they couldn't seem to fix what needed fixing. Tell us what happened for you when it really seemed they actually can't seem to help her any more than they're trying to.
I think this is where we went into different kind of paths slightly, didn't we? Because I really could see just how ill she was getting, and I had to kind of come to terms with what that might look like and what that could mean. And I think I had to really pray quite hard and get a sense of what was going to happen and how we would get through it. And I think I then took the decision to just try and make every second count. And so I would be there and, on my birthday, Mother's Day, really just giving it my all and still trying to express milk and kind of just do everything I could for as long as I could. And just really cherish those moments. But kind of knowing these could be our last moments. But then you was just so incredibly positive, but in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, we say I I sort of believed in the miracle right to the very end, is how I describe it. I mean, I have to say, I've got to be honest, that one of the things that kept me going, the amount of times I visualised this Sunday, but with Olivia with us on the stage, I felt it was, we were very much aware of all the prayers of everyone here, and I must tell you, it helped so much. But that was a real focus for me, of thinking, what an incredible celebration we're going to have in church when we bring Olivia home. And so that was, I think, but we've reflected on how we had a few, in the nicest possible way, sort of stern talks from senior staff where they were concerned we didn't understand the gravity of her condition, but we said we understand perfectly. It's just we have a faith. We're getting help. We believe that anything is possible with God's help, and so therefore I think we possibly, I'm certain we had the strength we needed to take us through 2 months of basically being at her bedside in hospital every waking hour, not getting outside to have any fresh air, not sort of having a life at all away from hospital for that period. It was extraordinary, but we unquestionably were kept going by the strength we got from God.
Olivia was moved into a hospice in the end, and died in that hospice. That must have been just unimaginable for you. And yet, I remember you saying, there had been moments of such grace and joy, even in what could have been just a desolate experience. Actually, there were moments of Olivia's life that shone through for you. The experience of Olivia's death, the funeral that followed. Just talk us through that grieving for her life. I think it's remarkable that I know the senior staff, the senior medical staff were concerned that your faith was sort of blinding you to the reality of the experience. And I remember reassuring one, no, this isn't, you're not looking at denial here, you're looking at faith that goes through these things. Yes, they're natural optimists, that helps. But just talk us through the experience of moving through that grieving process in the aftermath of such a deep loss.
Oh, it was just really difficult, and I guess we're still in it in a way. I don't think it ever goes really. I mean, I'm having counselling still, which is amazing. Actually, a Christian counsellor by chance, and she once said to me that you always have that relationship with the person. You still have the relationship, but it's different now. The relationship is grief, so it will always be with you, which is quite amazing and helpful for me. But initially, it was just really difficult, I think. Even though we had an amazing, peaceful time with her as she left us, that was just an incredible blessing in itself. And I think that helps, those moments help us. But I feel like our world basically crashed in when we got home, in a way.
Well, it did, because I think, the journey, the roller coaster continued after she died. That was one of the most difficult things, because, as we said, throughout her whole life, we had no idea why she was ill. But then out of the blue, so it was a week before the funeral, so I think possibly 2 weeks after she'd passed away, Katie got a phone call from the genetics team at Southampton to say, we think we know why she was ill. We think all these extensive tests they've done over so many weeks finally came back. The last throw of the dice came back and, revealed that it appears she had this incredibly rare gene which affected her. And, we, as of today, we understand she's one of only 4 known cases in medical history. Her and a baby in China and 2 babies in America. So that was a lot to process, but came with it as a sort of side issue, that although this was a gene that started with her and wasn't inherited from us, she also carried a gene which Katie had, which can cause sudden heart failure. It didn't affect her, but it meant that Katie had to go through extensive testing, which all came back clear, but we didn't know this at the time. And a week before your baby's funeral, I mean, that was just unbelievable for you to have to process that.
It was, I've never known fear like it. Just sheer panic and literally losing my head. And I remember before we came here for the funeral, I was Googling where's the nearest defibrillator, because I was told that I could have a cardiac arrest at any given moment, and the only way to know was to have this test, which I couldn't have for 3 weeks. So I was already just spent,
Yeah.
and then just kind of thinking, oh, okay, I'm at immediate risk.
Yeah.
And I just want to grieve. So it was just, honestly, I have never felt worse.
I know part of the reason you want to share this story, your story, Olivia's story, with us, is not just to sort of let people in on the inner story that they might have, so many people here praying and delivering meals, dropping off a meal on the doorstep, might not have known some of that backstory going on. I know you want to feed that back and let us in. Thank you for even that. But no one's going to go through what you went through. But I know part of your purpose in coming here this morning is that you want to encourage others who are going through grief or something very difficult. How to hold on to your faith, how to hold on to one another. I think one of the amazing things you've done is make space for one another to process things well and healthily, even when the walls were caving in on you. You did that for one another. Just widen it out a moment for us. What would you say to someone else going through something so difficult, so tragic? It could be a completely different circumstance, but they've got a faith. They want to keep hold of it, maybe, or reach out for it if they haven't got one. What do you say? How do you keep going through times in life like that?
Oh, just so many ways. I think you don't do it alone. You accept the help, and I think a massive part of us getting through this is everyone here that was praying, our amazing Connect group, our families, our friends. We really felt held the whole time, even when I kind of lost my mind and felt just totally isolated, knowing that those people were there for us and loving us, knowing that God was there and is present, I think was a massive help.
And I think the biggest thing I've taken from all of this really is, it's the question of unanswered prayer. It's the big thing that we all struggle with. And, praying every day, going to the chapel at Southampton Hospital to pray, believing that it was a matter of time, it was going to be a when, not if, Olivia got better, and then having to accept that she wasn't going to. But understanding that there's things that we can't have the answer for, but absolutely God gives us the strength in this situation. This is what I say to people, the few people I've met since who are dealing with anything difficult. You will get the strength that you need if you ask for it. And I mean, shamefully, I've forgotten this, but Katie reminded me of this yesterday. One of the toughest moments one of the occasions when it turned out Olivia had contracted sepsis in hospital and we nearly lost her, and I was holding her hand while the staff worked on her. And that was a real low point for me, where I really found myself, I didn't say it out loud, but in my head I was just saying, where are you, God? Where is God in this? It just felt so alone. And at that exact moment that happened, I felt an arm on my shoulder, and it was the palliative care doctor who we'd been introduced to and had supported us on the journey, because obviously it was clear right from the start that Olivia was in a very grave situation. And he just sort of comforted me at that moment. And I think for ethical reasons, he never sort of said, yes, I'm a Christian, but he had a crucifix on a ring on his finger, and he sort of gave little hints here and there. But I really felt in that moment that's what I needed, where it was such a challenging moment, and it was God giving me directly the strength I needed at that time. And things like that just go a very, very long way.
And I would also say that I think in those really dark times of just trying to survive, you have to just strip it back and just do tiny little things and know your value and how much God still loves you as much as he loves Olivia and anyone you know. And I think I just had to literally look at daisies and kind of grass, birds, know that they're here and God loves them and has created these beautiful things. And it's those little tiny bits that then grow, and then you can kind of do life again, and life gets bigger and bigger. But at that time, it's so small that you need those tiny little reminders, don't you? And just to kind of try and eat and drink and keep on going, just do the basics, and you can't possibly imagine and think about much more than that.
You both do have this amazing ability to not focus on death, but to sort of celebrate life. And I know you've celebrated, we continue to celebrate Livy's life with you. 1 year on. Mike, you're about to run a marathon to raise funds for the Pediatric Intensive Care Unit, because you want to sort of give back, you want to help other families who are going through that. I think the Just Giving page will come up. Tell us why you're doing that.
So it was one of those things where it was the morning after Livy passed away in the hospice. You still, even in these moments, sort of absent-mindedly scroll on your phone, and of course it was full of my social media with the fact that morning was the Southampton Marathon, the 2nd of April. And so I just thought then and there, I'm going to run this. This is a sign, I must run this next year, because what a wonderful way to honour her in the city where she spent most of her life and raise money for the people who looked after her. And I have to say it's been an incredible help to me, the training, although it's getting to the point where I'm not enjoying it so much, to be perfectly honest. But through the winter, through the really dark, cold winter months, actually to get out in nature and run and look at the stars, and I always say, I'm blessed to have an incredible connection still with Olivia, where I look at the stars and I really feel that's her looking down on me. So it's a wonderful thing, and it's been a great focus for me. And amazingly, you're going to be running it with me as well.
I am, yeah. Well, it was a very weak. You caught me at a weak moment, Mike, that day. And I rashly said that it would be a great honour to run that with you or something. I think I was trying to be pastoral, and I sort of overstepped somewhat. Yeah.
I thought this isn't going to happen.
Did you? Yeah, we're doing that. So that's going to be a wonderful thing. If you'd like to donate, of course, you can head to Mike's Just Giving page to do that. And Katie, how are you 1 year on?
Not feeling too great, to be honest, because I'm pregnant. So
I didn't know until yesterday. We sat down yesterday in their lounge. They told me. I just instantly burst into tears. I couldn't help it. I'm feeling a bit teary again. But it's what we ended up talking about. I'd love to end on this. How do you find the courage to go again? There'll be many people here who've come through other horrors, other tragedies, other difficulties. And your optimism, your resilience, your willingness to trust God and step forward and look forward, not looking back, is just remarkable to me. And if we could distill that, if everybody in this church family, wants that, what is that? How can we have some of what you've got?
well, I don't know, to be honest. No, I would say that we live on Earth, and there's going to be it's tough. This is not this isn't a perfect world where we're meant to be. So we can expect difficulties along the way, but that's not the entirety of our lives. And we could miss out on so much if we focus on those difficult things. And I think often in those times, I have to just bring it back and think, what is true? Okay, God is real. He has said these things that are incredible. He does incredible things. He has a plan for us. And how exciting life could be and will be. And let's not, lose those moments. And we have each other. We will always have community. And I think that's really exciting because you don't know where that can take you. Any kind of relationships and friendships, they can take us to amazing places with God in the centre. So I think that's where I focus, but I don't know what you think.
Absolutely. Well, life is a gift, and I think, I had a moment. So, I mean, in terms of my health, the operation was a success, but about 3-4 weeks into Olivia being in hospital, I got the phone call to tell me that, it had been a complete success, the operation, that removed the tumour, it hadn't spread, no more treatment required. And, so aware of the journey that people go on with cancer, to be told that, you've had the best outcome you could possibly have, was an extraordinary thing. At the time, I didn't want to hear it. It was a really difficult moment where I was incredibly emotional about it, because at the time all I wanted was to have good news for Olivia. In my mind I was sort of thinking it's almost like a sort of bargaining thing where you think there's a finite amount of good news to go around, and I don't need this, just heal Olivia. That's all I could focus on. But obviously with the passage of time, it was important at the time for me to be well, so I had the strength to support Olivia and Katie through that time. But equally, it's important now that I've got the gift of life. I'm able to run. I'm able to do these things. I'm able to always be Olivia's father, but hopefully be a father again on this earth. So, that's something that is a massive motivation and a massive joy for us.
And I think just with my work hat on, from a policy perspective, where we have to look at facts and evidence, I would look back and think, well, where has God showed up in our lives before? What has he done? We prayed for this thing, or this happened in someone else. We were praying for these people and this thing happened. That's where God has worked, and he's still working now. So there's no reason why that's not going to be different. So that helps me.
Mike and Katie, thank you so much for sharing your story with us this morning. Mike and Katie, thank you.